Hello everyone and welcome to our channel. In this video, we will be covering some important topics and questions related to those topics of the AZ-700 exam. You can find the complete PDF of this video and our practice questions through the link down in the description. We here have more than 30 plus certifications and are here to help you achieve your certification goals. This is a tutorial video and contains some practice questions for the AZ-700 exam. These are the topics that we will be covering in this video. However, these are not all the topics that will come in the exam. As such, we will be publishing more important topics in the next part of the series. So, please make sure to subscribe our channel and press the bell icon. To our first topic, Express Route. What is Azure Express Route? Express Route lets you extend your on-premises networks into the Microsoft cloud over a private connection with the help of a connectivity provider. With Express Route, you can establish connections to Microsoft cloud services such as Microsoft Azure and Microsoft 365. Connectivity can be from an any-to-any network, point-to-point Ethernet network, or a virtual cross connection through a connectivity provider at a co-location facility. Express route connections offer more reliability, faster speeds, consistent latencies, and higher security than typical connections over the internet because they don't go over the public internet. Here you can see a diagram showing the flow of a basic express route connection. About its key benefits, Layer 3 connectivity between your on-premises network and the Microsoft cloud through a connectivity provider. Connectivity can be from an any-to-any network, point-to-point Ethernet connection, or through a virtual cross connection via an Ethernet exchange. Connectivity to Microsoft cloud services across all regions in the geopolitical region, global connectivity to Microsoft services across all regions with the Express Route Premium add-on, dynamic routing between your network and Microsoft via BGP, built-in redundancy in every peering location for higher reliability, connection uptime SLA, QoS support for Skype for Business. To the questions related to this topic. Question 1. Your company has offices in New York and Amsterdam. The company has an Azure subscription. Both offices connect to Azure by using a site to site VPN connection. The office in Amsterdam uses resources in the North Europe Azure region. The office in New York uses resources in the East US Azure region. You need to implement express route circuits to connect each office to the nearest Azure region. Once the express route circuits are connected, the on-premises computers in the Amsterdam office must be able to connect to the on-premises servers in the New York office by using the express route circuits. Which express route option should you use? Here in this question, we want to connect each office to the nearest Azure region using express route circuits, and once these are connected, we want the on-premises computers in the Amsterdam office to be able to connect to the on-premises servers in the New York office by using these circuits. As such, we should use the express route global reach. As such, the correct option is B. Express Route Global Reach provides the ability to connect multiple Azure regions and on-premises locations with a single express route circuit. In this scenario, you need to connect the Amsterdam office to the North Europe Azure region and the New York office to the East US Azure region. Express Route Global Reach enables the communication between the on-premises computers in the Amsterdam office and the on-premises servers in the New York office through the Express Route circuits. Hence, Express Route Global Reach is the most suitable option to use in this scenario. Question 2. Your company has an office in New York. The company has an Azure subscription that contains the virtual networks shown in the following table. You need to connect the virtual networks to the office by using ExpressRoute. The solution must meet the following requirements. The connection must have up to 1 Gbps of bandwidth. The office must have access to all the virtual networks. Costs must be minimized. How many express route circuits should be provisioned and which express route SKU should you enable? Here in this question, we need to connect the virtual networks to the office by using express route while meeting the following requirements. As such, we should provision one express route premium circuit. As such, the correct option is A. Question 3. You have an on-premises data center and an Azure subscription. You plan to implement Express Route Fastpath. You need to create an Express Route gateway. The solution must minimize downtime if a single Azure data center fails. Which SKU should you use? Here in this question, we plan to implement Express Route Fastpath, and as such, we need to create an Express Route gateway. The solution must minimize downtime if a single Azure data center fails. Considering this, we should use the ERGW3AZ SKU. As such, the correct option is D. ERGW3AZ and Ultra Performance SKU supports FastPath. ERGW3AZ is zone redundant but not Ultra Performance SKU. Question 4. You have an Azure subscription that contains an Express Route standard gateway named GW1. You need to upgrade GW1 to support Express Route FastPath. The solution must minimize downtime. Which SKU should you use? Here in this question, we need to upgrade GW1 to support Express Route FastPath while minimizing downtime. As such, we should use the Ultra Performance SKU. As such, the correct option is A. The following upgrades are supported: Standard to High Performance, Standard to Ultra Performance, High Performance to Ultra Performance, ERGW1AZ to ERGW2AZ. Question 5. Hotspot. You have an on-premises data center in New York and Seattle. You have an Azure subscription that contains the express route circuits shown in the following table. You need to ensure that all the data sent between the data centers is routed via the express route circuits. The solution must minimize costs. How should you configure the network? To answer, select the appropriate option in the answer area. To the answer area, express route configuration. Here, the correct option is global reach. To the next statement, peering. Here, we will go with private peering. About the options, box 1. Express Route Global Reach is the service where if you have two data centers which are located at different geolocations and both are connected to Microsoft Azure via Express Route, then these two data centers can also connect to each other securely via Microsoft's backbone. Box 2 Private. With Express Route Global Reach, you can link Express Route circuits together to make a private network between your on-premises networks. Question 6. Your company has a single on-premises data center in Washington, D.C. The East US Azure region has a peering location in Washington, D.C. The company only has Azure resources in the East US region. You need to implement Express Route to support up to 1 Gbps. You must use only Express Route unlimited data plans. The solution must minimize costs. Which type of Express Route circuits should you create? Here in this question, the company only has Azure resources in the East US region, and we need to implement Express Route to support up to 1 Gbps while only using Express Route unlimited data plans. The solution must also minimize costs. As such, we should create an Express Route local circuit. Thus, the correct option is A. To the next topic, VPN gateway. What is Azure VPN gateway? It is a service that can be used to send encrypted traffic between an Azure virtual network and on-premises locations over the public internet. You can also use a VPN gateway to send encrypted traffic between Azure virtual networks over the Microsoft network. VPN gateway uses a specific type of Azure virtual network gateway called a VPN gateway. Multiple connections can be created to the same VPN gateway. When you create multiple connections, all VPN tunnels share the available gateway bandwidth. Here in this diagram, you can see a VPN gateway on the left, and on the right side, we can see the different kind of established connections. To the questions related to this topic, question 7. You are planning an Azure point to site VPN that will use OpenVPN. Users will authenticate by an on premises Active Directory domain. Which additional service should you deploy to support the VPN authentication? Here in this question, the users authenticate by an on premises Active Directory domain, and we need to deploy an additional service to support the VPN authentication. As such, we should deploy a Radius server. As such, the correct option is B, a Radius server. AD domain authentication allows users to connect to Azure using their organization domain credentials. It requires a Radius server that integrates with the AD server. Question 8. You plan to configure BGP for a site to site VPN connection between a data center and Azure. Which two Azure resources should you configure? Each correct answer presents a part of the solution. Note, each correct selection is worth 1 point. Here in this question, we are planning to configure BGP for a site to site VPN connection between a data center and Azure. As such, the two Azure resources that we should configure are a virtual network gateway and a local network gateway. As such, the correct options are A and D. The correct answers are A and D. To configure BGP for a site-to-site VPN connection between a data center and Azure, you will need to configure a virtual network gateway and a local network gateway. The virtual network gateway will be used to establish the VPN connection between your data center and Azure, and the local network gateway will be used to define the on-premises network that you want to connect to Azure. Question 9. You fail to establish a site-to-site VPN connection between your company's main office and an Azure virtual network. You need to troubleshoot what prevents you from establishing the IPsec tunnel. Which diagnostic log should you review? Here in this question, considering the given scenario, we should review the IKE diagnostic log. As such, the correct option is A. The IKE diagnostic log table offers verbose debug logging for IKE/IPsec. This is very useful to review when troubleshooting disconnections or failure to connect VPN scenarios. About the other logs, Gateway Diagnostic Log. Configuration changes are audited in Gateway Diagnostic Log table. Tunnel Diagnostic Log. The tunnel diagnostic log table is very useful to inspect the historical connectivity statuses of the tunnel. Route diagnostic log. The route diagnostic log table traces the activity for statically modified routes or routes received via BGP. P2S diagnostic log. The last available table for VPN diagnostics is P2S diagnostic log. This table traces the activity for point to site. Question 10. You have an Azure virtual network and an on-premises data center. You are planning a site-to-site VPN connection between the data center and the virtual network. Which two resources should you include in your plan? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. Here in this question, according to the given scenario, the two resources that we should include in our plan are a virtual network gateway and a local network gateway. As such, the correct options are B and G. To the miscellaneous questions, question 11. You have an Azure subscription that contains a virtual network. You plan to deploy an Azure VPN gateway and 90 site to site VPN connections. The solution must meet the following requirements. Ensure that the site to site VPN connections remain available if an Azure data center fails. Minimize costs. Which gateway SKU should you specify? Here in this question, we are planning to deploy an Azure VPN gateway and 90 site to site VPN connections while meeting the given requirements. As such, we should specify the VPN GW4AZ SKU. As such, the correct option is C. Basic SKU supports max 10 S2S connections. SKUs 1, 2, and 3 support max 30 S2S connections. SKUs 4 and 5 support max 100 S2S. Of those two, SKU 4 minimizes the cost. Question 12. You have an Azure subscription that contains a virtual network named VNet1 and the virtual machines shown in the following table. All the virtual machines are connected to VNet1. You need to ensure that the applications hosted on the virtual machines can be accessed from the internet. The solution must ensure that the virtual machines share a single public IP address. What should you use? Here in this question, we need to ensure that the applications hosted on the virtual machines can be accessed from the internet and that the virtual machines share a single public IP address. As such, we should use a public load balancer. As such, the correct option is D. Question 13. You have three on-premises networks. You have an Azure subscription that contains a basic Azure virtual WAN. The virtual WAN contains a single virtual hub and a virtual network gateway that is limited to a throughput of 1 Gbps. The on-premises networks connect to the virtual WAN by using site-to-site VPN connections. You need to increase the throughput of the virtual WAN to 3 Gbps. The solution must minimize administrative effort. What should you do? Here in this question, we have to increase the throughput of the virtual WAN to 3 Gbps while minimizing administrative effort. As such, we should increase the number of gateway scale units. Thus, the correct option is D. Question 14. You have 10 on-premises networks that are connected by using a third-party software-defined wide area network solution. You have an Azure subscription that contains 5 virtual networks. You plan to connect the Azure virtual networks and the on-premises networks by using an Azure virtual WAN with a single virtual WAN hub. You need to ensure that the Azure virtual WAN can act as a node in the third-party SD-WAN solution. What should you include in the solution? Here in this question, we are planning to connect the Azure virtual networks and the on-premises networks by using an Azure virtual WAN with a single virtual WAN hub. So, we need to ensure that the virtual WAN can act as a node in the third-party SD-WAN solution. As such, we should include a network virtual appliance in the solution. Thus, the correct option is B. Question 15. You have two Azure virtual networks named VNet1 and VNet2. You have a Windows 10 device named Client1 that connects to VNet1 by using a point-to-site IKE V2 VPN. You implement virtual network peering between VNet1 and VNet2. VNet1 allows gateway transit. VNet2 can use the remote gateway. You discover that client 1 cannot communicate with VNet2. You need to ensure that client 1 can communicate with VNet 2. Solution: you reset the gateway of VNet 1. Does this meet the goal? Here in this question, we discover that client 1 cannot communicate with VNet 2 and as such have to ensure that client 1 can communicate with VNet 2. Considering that requirement and the given architecture, the given solution is incorrect. As such, the correct option is B. The VPN client must be downloaded again if any changes are made to VNet peering or the network topology. Question 16. You have two Azure virtual networks named VNet 1 and VNet 2. You have a Windows 10 device named Client 1 that connects to VNet 1 by using a point to site IKE V2 VPN. You implement virtual network peering between VNet 1 and VNet 2. VNet 1 allows gateway transit. VNet 2 can use the remote gateway. You discover that client 1 cannot communicate with VNet 2. You need to ensure that client 1 can communicate with VNet 2. Solution: you enable BGP on the gateway of VNet. Does this meet the goal? Here in this question, considering that the given scenario is same as the previous question, the given solution is incorrect. As such, the correct option is B. Question 17. You have two Azure virtual networks named VNet 1 and VNet 2. You have a Windows 10 device named Client 1 that connects to VNet 1 by using a point to site IKE V2 VPN. You implement virtual network peering between VNet 1 and VNet 2. VNet 1 allows gateway transit. VNet 2 can use the remote gateway. You discover that client 1 cannot communicate with VNet 2. You need to ensure that client 1 can communicate with VNet 2. Solution: you download and reinstall the VPN client configuration. Does this meet the goal? Here in this question, considering that the given scenario is same as the previous question, the given solution is indeed correct. As such, the correct option is A. The VPN client must be downloaded again if any changes are made to VNet peering or the network topology. Question 18. You plan to deploy Azure Virtual Network. You need to design the subnets. Which three types of resources require a dedicated subnet? Each correct answer presents a complete solution. Here in this question, the three types of resources that require a dedicated subnet are Azure Bastion, Azure Application Gateway, V2, and VPN Gateway. As such, the correct options are A, D, and E. All gateway types and Bastion must have dedicated subnets. Question 19. You have an Azure virtual network named VNet1 that hosts an Azure firewall named FW1 and 150 virtual machines. VNet1 is linked to a private DNS zone named contoso.com. all the virtual machines have their name registered in the contoso.com zone. VNet 1 connects to an on-premises data center by using express route. You need to ensure that on-premises DNS servers can resolve the names in the contoso.com zone. Which two actions should you perform? Here in this question, we have to ensure that on-premises DNS servers can resolve the names in the contoso.com zone. As such, the two actions that we should perform are that for FW1, enable DNS proxy, and on the on-premises DNS servers, configure forwarders that point to the front-end IP address of FW1. As such, the correct options are C and D. DNS proxy configuration requires three steps. Enable DNS proxy in Azure Firewall DNS settings. Optionally configure your custom DNS server or use the provided default. Finally, you must configure the Azure Firewall's private IP address as a custom DNS server in your virtual network DNS server settings. This ensures DNS traffic is directed to Azure Firewall. Question 20. You are planning the IP addressing for the subnets in Azure virtual networks. Which type of resource requires IP addresses in the subnets? Here in this question, the type of resource that requires IP addresses in the subnets are internal load balancers. As such, the correct option is A. Question 21. You have a hub and spoke topology. The topology includes multiple on-premises locations that connect to a hub virtual network in Azure via express route circuits. You have an Azure application gateway named GW1 that provides a single point of ingress from the internet. You plan to migrate the hub and spoke topology to Azure Virtual WAN. You need to identify which changes must be applied to the existing topology. The solution must ensure that you maintain a single point of ingress from the internet. Which three changes should you include in the solution? Here in this question, we have a hub and spoke topology that includes multiple on-premises locations that connect to a hub virtual network in Azure via express route circuits. We also have an Azure application gateway named GW1 that provides a single point of ingress from the internet. We plan to migrate the hub and spoke topology to Azure Virtual WAN. We need to identify the changes that must be applied to the existing topology and also maintain a single point of ingress from the internet. As such, the three changes that we should include in the solution are to replace the user-defined routes by the current topology, create virtual network connections, and remove the existing virtual network peerings. As such, the correct options are C, D, and D. Transition connectivity to virtual WAN hub. Step 1. Delete the existing peering connections from spoke virtual networks to the old customer managed hub. Access to applications in spoke virtual networks is unavailable until steps 1 to 3 are complete. Step 2. Connect the spoke virtual networks to the virtual WAN hub via VNet connections. Step 3. Remove any user defined routes. previously used within spoke virtual networks for spoke to spoke communications. This path is now enabled by dynamic routing available within the virtual WAN hub. Question 22. You have an application named App1 that listens for incoming requests on a pre-configured group of 50 TCP ports and UDP ports. You install App1 on 10 Azure virtual machines. You need to implement load balancing for App1 across all the virtual machines. The solution must minimize the number of load balancing rules. What should you include in the solution? Here in this question, we need to implement load balancing for app 1 across all the virtual machines while minimizing rules. As such, we should include Azure standard load balancer that has high availability ports enabled. Thus, the correct option is C. App 1 is installed on 10 virtual machines which can be put in a backend pool. Is to minimize the number of load balancing rules. If you select HA, it will allow you to have one rule for TCP and UDP port. If you don't select HA, you will need to have a minimum of two rules for TCP and UDP with a asterisk range. Question 23. Hotspot. You need to connect an on-premises network and an Azure environment. The solution must use ExpressRoute and support failing over to site VPN connection if there is an ExpressRoute failure. What should you configure? To answer, select the appropriate option in the answer area. To the answer area, routing type. Here, the correct option is route based. To the next statement, number of virtual network gateways. Here, the correct option is 2. Route based and 2 virtual network gateways. One for express route connection and the second for the VPN connection. Question 24. Your company has an on premises network and 3 Azure subscriptions named Subscription 1, Subscription 2, and Subscription 3. The departments at the company use the Azure subscriptions as shown in the following table. All the resources in the subscriptions are in either the West US Azure region or the West US 2 Azure region. You plan to connect all the subscriptions to the on-premises network by using ExpressRoute. What is the minimum number of ExpressRoute circuits required? Here in this question, we are planning to connect all our subscriptions to the on-premises network by using ExpressRoute. As such, the minimum number of ExpressRoute circuits required according to the given data is 1. Thus, the correct option is A. Managing authorization. The circuit owner can share a circuit with up to 10 Azure subscriptions. The circuit owner can view who has been authorized to the circuit. The owner can revoke the authorization at any time. Question 25. You have an Azure subscription that contains the resources shown in the following table. You create a virtual network named VNet2 in the West US region. You plan to enable peering between VNet1 and VNet2. You need to ensure that the virtual machines connected to VNet2 can connect to VM1 and VM2 via LB1. What should you do? Here, according to the given question, in order to ensure that the virtual machines connected to VNet 2 can connect to VM1 and VM2 via LB1, we should change the SKU of LB1. As such, the correct option is D. Question 26. Hotspot. You have an Azure subscription that contains a virtual network gateway VNet GWY1. VNet GWY1 has a public IP address of 20.25.32.214. You need to query the health probe of VNet GWY1. How should you complete the URI? To answer, select the appropriate option in the answer area. To the answer area, dash column double slash 20.25.32.214 column dash slash health probe. Here in this question, the answer to the first blank is HTTPS and the answer to the second blank is 8081. Question 27. Hotspot. You have an on-premises data center. You have an Azure subscription that contains 10 virtual machines and a virtual network named VNet1 in the East US Azure region. The virtual machines are connected to VNet1 and replicate across three availability zones. You need to connect the data center to VNet1 by using express route. The solution must meet the following requirements: maintain connectivity to the virtual machines if two availability zones fail, support 1000 Mbps connections, minimize costs. What should you include in the solution? To answer, select the appropriate option in the answer area. To the answer area, minimum number of express route circuits. Here, according to the given information, the correct option is 1 express route standard circuit. To the next statement, minimum number of express route gateways. Here, the correct option is 1 express route gateway of the ER-GW1 AZ SKU. Question 28. Hotspot. You have an Azure subscription. You plan to use Azure Virtual WAN. You need to deploy a virtual WAN hub that meets the following requirements: support 4 Gbps of site to site VPN traffic, supports 8 Gbps of express route traffic, minimizes costs. How many scale units should you configure? To answer, select the appropriate options in the answer area. To the answer area, statement for the S2S VPN gateway. Here, according to the given requirements, the correct option is 8. To the next statement for the express route gateway. Here, the correct option is 4. Question 29. Hotspot. Your on-premises network uses an IP address range of 10.1.0.0 to 10.1.255.255. You plan to deploy a new Azure Virtual Network solution that will include the following elements: a virtual network named VNet1, site-to-site VPN connection between VNet1 and the on-premises network, gateway subnet in VNet1, which will be used as a route-based virtual network gateway. You need to recommend which subnet masks to assign to VNet1 and gateway subnet. The solution must meet the following requirements: maximize the number of available IP addresses on VNet 1, minimize the number of available IP addresses on gateway subnet. Which address space should you assign to VNet 1 and gateway subnet? To answer, select the appropriate option in the answer area. To the answer area, VNet 1. Here, the correct option is 10.0.0.0/16. To the next statement, gateway subnet. Here, the correct option is 10.0.0.0/27. We can maximize the number of available IP addresses on VNet 1 10.0.0.0/16 and minimize the number of available IP addresses on gateway subnet 10.0.0.0/27. Question 30. Hotspot. Your company has an Azure virtual network named VNet 1 that uses an IP address space of 192.168.0.0/20. VNet 1 contains a subnet named Subnet 1 that uses an IP address space of 192.168.0.0/24. You create an IPv6 address range to VNet 1 by using a CIDR suffix of /48. You need to enable the virtual machines on subnet 1 to communicate with each other by using IPv6 addresses assigned by the company. The solution must minimize the number of additional IPv4 addresses. To answer, select the appropriate option in the answer area. To the answer area, create an IPv6 subnet that uses a CIDR suffix of. Here, the correct option is /64. To the next statement, for each virtual machine, create an additional. Here, the correct option is public IPv6 address. About the options, fun. The subnets for IPv6 must be exactly /64 in size. This ensures future compatibility should you decide to enable routing of the subnet to an on-premises network, since some routers can only accept /64 IPv6 routes. About second, add IPv6 configuration to NIC. Configure all of the VMNICs with an IPv6 address using add/AZ network interface ipconfig. These were all the questions for this video. You can find the complete PDF of this video and our practice questions through the link down in the description. Please make sure to subscribe our channel and press the bell icon. Thank you for watching and stay tuned.